Hello, my most amazing artist. I hope you're doing fabulous today. I'm really excited because today we're going to be entering into the third dimension and learning how to take a piece of paper that's flat and making a cake that appears to be coming out of the paper. We're going to draw it in the third dimension, 3D. But before we do, let's say our art class catchphrase. I make messes. I make mistakes, but deep inside, I got what it takes. I am an artist. Great, guys. All right, so for today, we are making some cakes. Look at that. You could make a tiered cake like this one, maybe a wedding cake or a birthday cake. You could make a cake like this with lots of rainbow icing and chocolate because hello, it's gotta be a chocolate cake. Or maybe you wanna make a unicorn cake. I'm gonna show you how to make all of these different kinds of cakes. We are going to be using all of the elements of, that's right, art today. So let's go through them. Line, shape, color, baby, color, form, value, texture, and space. All right, so the basis for drawing this cake is we have to draw a cylinder. If this were a cake and you were looking at it from the top, you would know that the top of the cake that we're drawing is round like a circle. But we're not going to be showing the point of view from the top. We're showing the point of view, or perspective is what it's called, from the side. And for that reason, we have to do something called foreshortening. Instead of drawing the cake like a circle, we're going to be drawing it like an oval, with this part being in the back, this part being in the front. So we're gonna get really good at drawing cylinders for this. Now, when I draw this cake, I will be drawing it with a pencil because there's going to be some lines that I will need to erase. I know it might be difficult to see my pencil lines, so I'll be drawing really dark with a dark value. I recommend you draw with a light value. The reason is because it will be easier for you later on to erase. If you draw with a dark value and you press really hard, it's a little bit tricky to erase. So the first thing you'll need to do is decide how wide do you want the top of your cake to be. It's going to be wider than the other one. And I'm gonna make an I love you with my hand. You might even want to stretch your hand out completely because you have smaller hands than me. I'm going to go with this width. So decide how wide you want it to be. Notice I left some space at the top for the candles. And I'll repeat that same process. I'm making my lines a dark value so you can see them. You might want to draw those lightly. All right, now that I have this complete, I'm going to draw this line, but notice that there's a little bit of a bump right there. It's okay, we're gonna take out that slice of cake shortly, but now I'm gonna start by making that same kind of curve that I did before for that foreshortened line. It's that little tiny smile. And then I'll make a line that's a mirror image just like I did before, going back. Awesome, now let's go ahead and make the rest of the cylinder of the cake. So now you have to decide the height of your cake. So I think I want the height to be pretty long. I don't know if I want it to go all the way down to the bottom of my paper, but you know what? This is your cake. You can do whatever you want. I think, let's see, I want it to be about this long. I just pulled my finger straight down in a vertical line, put a little dot there, and then I want this one to be the same line that goes over and down. So I just made it as wide and I made a vertical line. And now I'll repeat the process. But first, I'm gonna make a vertical line that goes straight down to that dot. Boom! Straight down to that dot. And it looks like I missed my dot, and that's okay. Maybe that dot wasn't in the best place in the first place. Oof, don't you hate it when erasers leave a little mark like that? That's okay. All right, now next step, I'm going to do this curve right here. It's going to be parallel to that one. And would you look, you've just created a cylinder. Now, if you were making a glass and this were transparent or see-through, you would repeat that process of drawing another line right there. But I'm pretty sure your cake is not see-through. It's opaque, so we're gonna leave it just like that. It's opaque cake. All right, I sang before. All right, now let's work on those plates. The plate is very similar to what we've been doing to this, right? It's a circle that we're going to foreshorten and make into an ellipse or an oval. Determine the width of your plate. I'm gonna have mine be almost as wide as my paper. Connect. And if I'm going too fast, just hit that pause button and connect. But you might have noticed there's a lot of steps that repeat, right? It's a lot of the same steps. If you wanted to make an Abraham Lincoln hat, look at that. Looks like we know how to do it. Now let's take a slice out of this cake. Oh, right. Now let's take a slice out of this cake. So to do that, find the middle of this oval or elliptical shape and put a little polka dot. Once you've got that, draw a line that goes straight down to the bottom. Perfect. Now I want you to draw an arrow. This is the top of the arrow. Make a diagonal line there and a diagonal line there. Perfect. Do you see your arrow? Awesome. From the sides of your arrow, let's bring these lines straight down with a vertical. Straight down with a vertical. Sweet. Now, do you see this arrow you made here? To show that that slice goes back into space, we have to repeat that arrow right here. I'll show you. So starting here, I'll go up, making a line that's parallel to this one, meaning it does the same thing. Starting here, I'll go like that. Now, there's a couple of lines I have to erase. I'll be erasing this and this. So I'm erasing this vertical and this horizontal, creating the illusion that my cake goes back into space. You can see it, can't you? Get rid of some of those lines. There we go. Now you see why we drew with a pencil. Do you know what lines to erase here? This and that. You got it. We're just erasing these two lines right there. Perfect. Now I have a cake that looks like it's going back into space. Now, while I finish this one, you might want to put some icing on your cake. So here's how I do that. I'm going to put a lot of layers of icing with the wavy line, hop over my cake, and notice how my layer or my icing started here and came away from the cake, making it a little wider, which means we'll have to do a little bit of erasing. If you drew very lightly, like your pencil is tickling your paper, then it will be easy for you to erase. All right, I'll do that again. Depending on how many layers of icing you want, you could make a birthday cake. You could make a unicorn horn at the top to turn this into a unicorn cake with a couple of ears. What kind of dream cake can you design? You get to be the cake designer. How exciting is that? When you're finished drawing these lines, think about the ones that don't belong in your drawing anymore because your cake is not see-through, and erase them. And if you accidentally erase some of your pencil lines, go ahead and add those back on. Now, if your cake is finished, you could grab your permanent marker and start to trace. There's just one more thing I need to do, and that's to add the layers. Again, if you're sitting patiently waiting for me to do this, go ahead and zip through the video while I finish this cake. I'm gonna have a 3-layer cake, but I'm going to be repeating this diagonal. I'll put a layer here with some icing in between. I'll put a layer there with some icing in between. Yes, this looks delicious. I'm repeating the same steps over here. Diagonal, diagonal. This time I'm running my lines parallel to that one at the top. Beautiful. If your cake is finished, go ahead and trace. We'll talk about candles in a moment. Great. Now, let's talk candles if you wish to add them. Honestly, I bet you could figure out how to make them just by looking because they're cylinders too. We've been drawing so many cylinders. So start with an oval. That oval will determine the width of your candle. If it's easier, you could do it the way we have been doing by drawing 2 polka dots first, and then connect and connect. Oops, that one got a little tall, didn't it? Good thing I'm using a pencil. When you're drawing these candles, notice that I'm showing space by having one be up here and these 2 a little lower. That's showing space in my artwork. All right, I think I'll have one that's burned down quite a bit, so it's gonna be a little shorter than the other ones. There we go. Now I have to determine the height of the candle by making my lines come down. And they have to meet the cake, even cross over into the cake a little bit, and then close. Now my candles are not see-through, so I bet you can figure out what line I need to erase. All right, I'm bringing this down and close. Yep, unless you have magical glass candles, which if you do, I want to know where you got them from. I'm gonna erase those. Look at that, those are some really big candles. To add my fire, I'm gonna add the wick. Ooh, maybe they just got blown out. You could add a little bit of smoke or a little curve, like almost like a teardrop shape that's bent. The cool thing about a little flame is it can be going this way or that way. There's no right way to draw those in. And now I didn't leave a lot of room on this cake, so maybe I'll just leave this one plain. Okay, now let's give this a table to sit on with a horizontal line that hops over the cake. And you are ready to add color. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and trace your lines with a Sharpie or with a permanent marker. I'm using a Ready Sharp by Ticonderoga. You could do that, and then you could start to color. I'm only gonna be tracing one cake and working from there. I like to do a little something called tracing and erasing. That means I'm tracing with a permanent marker and then erasing any of my peekaboo pencil lines. Next up, I'm using crayons to color the background, using a variety of values, sometimes by pressing hard with my crayon and then lightly.